You know, when people talk about relationship breaks, they make it sound like some harmless timeout, like a pause button you can press and then magically come back together stronger than ever. Well, let me tell you how my fiancé turned that so-called break into the most humiliating experience of my life, and how I walked away with my dignity intact, even if it broke her world instead of mine. It started like this. We'd been together for years, engaged, planning a future, even talking about what color we wanted the kitchen cabinets to be in our first home. But then, out of nowhere, she drops this bomb on me. I think I need a break. No explanation, no real reason, just that she needed space. Now, if you've ever been in love, you know what that does to you. Part of me wanted to fight, to convince her not to leave, but another part of me, this quiet voice in the back of my head, told me, fine, if she needs space, give her space. So, I did nothing. I let her walk away. But here's where the knife twists. While I'm sitting there respecting her so-called break, she's out there flaunting her rekindled romance with her ex, not in secret either. I'm talking Instagram posts, mutual friends whispering, even her sister slipping up and mentioning his name around me. Imagine scrolling through your feed and seeing your fiancé, who swore she needed time to work on herself, posting smiling selfies with the guy she used to cry over, the guy she said was her biggest mistake, and all I could do was nothing. Nothing but watch her make me the villain in her little public soap opera while I kept my silence. Weeks went by. No texts, no calls, just radio silence. She ghosted me like I was the side character in my own love story. People kept asking me, "Hey, are you guys okay? Did something happen?" And every time, I had to shrug it off, pretending I wasn't being humiliated on a global stage called social media. Then, one day, my phone buzzes. It's her. After weeks of nothing, she calls me, sounding cheerful, almost casual. She says, "Hey babe, the break is over." Like she'd just come back from a vacation and expected me to be waiting at the airport with flowers. Get this. Why do I always date down me? The guy who put a ring on her finger. The guy who stood by her when she had nothing. The guy who respected her break while she was breaking every promise she ever made to me. And now, she was out there branding me as some stepping stone, some downgrade in her dating history. That was the moment I realized something powerful. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. I didn't have to expose her. I didn't have to get revenge. Her actions already told the world who she really was. But here's where it gets interesting. Because when people realized I dumped her instead of waiting around, suddenly she wasn't flaunting anymore. Suddenly she wasn't laughing. She was begging, calling, texting, showing up at my place, saying things like, "You don't get it. I was just testing us. I was scared. I didn't know what I wanted." After I told her it was over, things got messy. Not on my end. I was chilling, finally, breathing like I'd taken off a 100-pound backpack. But for her, she spiraled, hard. First, it was the calls, a dozen a day. Then came the texts. Long paragraphs at 3 a.m. about how I misunderstood everything, how she only reconnected with her ex to get closure, how her post about dating down was just a joke. But here's the part that really made me laugh. After weeks of this circus, she sends me one last message. It said, "Fine, if you don't want me, you'll regret it. You'll never find someone who loves you like I do." A joke? Lady, you put my face on Instagram with the caption, "Why do I always date down?" That's not a joke. That's character assassination. And when I didn't respond, she leveled up her chaos. She showed up at my apartment, crying, yelling, pleading. One minute she was begging me to forgive her. The next, she was furious that I wasn't playing along. "You're just throwing everything away. I did this to test us, and you failed." Test us? Nah. I wasn't some lab rat running around her maze for scraps of affection. So now she was desperate, and desperation makes people reckless. She tried calling my mom, telling her I was making a huge mistake. She tried sliding into my friends' DMs, asking them to convince me. She even mailed me a handwritten letter. Who even does that anymore? But here's the part that really made me laugh. After weeks of this circus, she sends me one last message. It said, "Fine, if you don't want me, you'll regret it. You'll never find someone who loves you like I do." And you know what? She was right. I'll never find someone who loves me like she did, because what she called love wasn't love at all. It was control. It was ego. It was convenience. And I don't want that. I deserve better. Fast forward to now. I'm thriving. I hit the gym, leveled up at work, started reconnecting with people who actually care about me. And the best part? Every once in a while, I'll get a random message from a mutual friend saying, "Hey, she asked about you again." She still talks about how she messed up. And maybe the old me would have smiled at that, maybe even felt a little satisfaction. But now I just shake my head. Because the truth is simple. I didn't lose her. She lost me. So yeah, when she called saying, "The break is over," and I told her, "So is this relationship," that was the moment I finally understood my worth. And if you're listening to this and you're in a relationship where you feel like you're always being tested, always being made to feel like you're not enough, take it from me. Sometimes the best thing you can say is the hardest thing to say. No. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't getting back at someone. It's moving on without them. And trust me, nothing haunts a person who took you for granted more than watching you live a life they'll never be part of again. The fire burned low, and Rajib's voice grew steady as he spoke. By the 1500s, Europe was hungry for new lands and riches. Ships crossed the ocean, bringing strangers to the Americas. At first, the native people welcomed them with food, gifts, and trust. But soon, the truth appeared. These men did not come as guests, but as conquerors. They carried weapons of iron, strange animals like horses, and diseases invisible to the human eye. Smallpox, measles, and influenza spread faster than swords, wiping out entire villages. Imagine living in harmony with nature, then suddenly watching your world collapse in silence. Whole communities disappeared without a single battle fought, and while some natives resisted, the balance of power shifted quickly. The newcomers wrote their own rules, seeing the land not as sacred, but as treasure. For the people who had lived there for thousands of years, it was the beginning of a storm that would never fully end. Rajib's tone grew heavier as the firelight danced across his face. The forest seemed to lean in closer, listening. The Spanish arrival in the Americas was not just exploration, it was conquest. He began slowly. When Hernán Cortés marched toward the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, he carried with him not only steel and gunpowder, but deception. The Aztecs, a people of great wealth and deep spirituality, at first thought these strangers riding strange beasts might be divine. They welcomed them with food, hospitality, and yes, even gold. But gold was poison to the Europeans. To the Aztecs, it was a symbol, a material for art and ceremony. To Cortés, it was power. That lust twisted every interaction. Rajib's voice dropped lower. Cortés, with barely 600 men, turned tribes against each other, forging alliances with enemies of the Aztecs. Disease spread faster than his army could march. Smallpox tore through the empire, killing thousands within weeks. Imagine being an empire of millions, brought to your knees by men you once welcomed as guests. That is the story of Tenochtitlan's fall. It was not just swords that defeated them. It was betrayal, fear, and illness. The Aztec Empire collapsed into fire and ashes. The flames popped, and Rajib continued. Farther south, the Incas thrived in the Andes Mountains. Their roads stretched for thousands of miles. Their engineers carved terraces into stone cliffs, and their empire was rich in silver and gold. But when Francisco Pizarro arrived, history repeated itself. He invited the Inca ruler, Atahualpa, under the pretense of peace. Atahualpa came, unarmed, confident in his people's strength. But Pizarro's men ambushed him. The ruler was taken hostage, and the Inca people, desperate to save him, filled entire rooms with gold and silver as ransom. And yet, Pizarro betrayed them. Atahualpa was executed, and the Inca Empire, too, began to unravel. Rajib's voice hardened. It was more than conquest.